Hello, folks, and welcome to Boatrek Live. Today I have Marcelo and Starfleet Boy with me, and we will be discussing possibly the best episode of Star Trek Lower Decks yet, wej Duj, or whatever, however you
wej
say
Duj.
it. wej Duj.
wej Duj. Yeah, I don't know. You said it right.
Now, for those of you who don't know what this episode is about, it focuses on not only the lower decks on the Cerritos, that crew. It focuses on a Klingon crew, a Vulcan crew, and there's a little bit of a lower decks Pakled crew in there for like a little joke, but it's mainly about this young Klingon, Mach. He rises to the rank of first officer, and he wants to suck up to the captain, but he realizes that the captain is wrong in his attempt to wage war through the Paklids. We find out this Klingon captain is the one, or one of the ones, behind the whole Paklids obtaining so much power with all their weaponry and whatnot. Then you go over to this Vulcan ship. T'Lyn is the name of the mariner-like, I guess, lower decker on that ship, and she is rebellious. And I love how so subtle it is, and the way they write the Vulcans, the Vulcan conversations. I've never seen that before. I've never seen that to that extent in Star Trek, and they fucking nailed it. They nailed how the Vulcans were together, and like I love how like they mention each other, like well we're not Vulcans and we're not Klingons. You know what I mean? There's this divide, but it's showing how similar they are. Like
that was like a cool thing about the episode where Boimler's comments about Klingons went to the Klingon ship, and then their comments about Vulcans went to the Vulcan ship. So it was like a beautiful kind of like tie-in going around. Hey, Father.
Father, I'm going to send you the link if you're available. You can hop on if you want. Yeah, and the way they write the Klingon stuff and the Vulcan stuff, which is perfect in my mind, and it's great to have an episode that's focused on two of the best, in my opinion, aliens in the Star Trek universe. The Vulcans and the Klingons are like the main ones. Like if you just go back throughout Trek history, like the focus has been, well, Vulcans are a huge part of the Federation. Needless to say, but the Klingons are such great villains, and they're such interesting characters to watch. And the fact that you get to see these cultures kind of like on their own without like a human visiting, like Riker in forget the name of the episode, the Klingon episode from season 2.
It's called Klingon Lower Decks.
Klingon Lower Decks.
Klingon Lower Decks. No, Riker is not in the Lower Decks. I forget what it's called. It's something like infliction of honor or pain of honor or some kind of honor. There's like an honor in there. Pledge of honor, duty. Father should know. He's in the chat. Oh, he says
Code of Honor, isn't it?
Code of Honor. There you go. No, isn't Code of Honor the bad episode, season 1?
No. Oh yes, Jesus Christ.
No,
yes.
I was gonna say Chain of Command, but it's not.
Oh no, it's not that either. Damn it! I'm just gonna look it up.
Father, he can't join. Okay. Cool. He can listen though. Yeah, I want to get your take on the episode, Marcelo. You've seen it, obviously. I assume that's why you're here.
I've only seen it like once, and that was like maybe half an hour ago.
It's called A Matter of Honor. I knew it was something.
A matter of honor.
Starfleet Boy coming in with the facts, nice and hot.
Hey, I had a chance to look it up. I just went and looked it up.
That was a little much. Sorry about that. I was just really, really enthralled that the primary alien races in Star Trek had a version of lower decks. It was just that was like ultimately fascinating to me, and the lower decks version that I liked the most was the Klingon lower decks version. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it truly is the lower decks of the lower decks show. It's like the lower decks episode of Lower Decks, where it actually is brave enough. That's what I love about it. It's brave enough to just, we're gonna go off and look, tell, and they, you know what's brilliant about it? They tell this great fucking dynamic story in just 24 minutes. Like, it's very tight, and there's not a dull moment in the entire episode. I would argue that one of the things that stuck out as kind of grating at first, but it pays off later, is the Mariner Freeman thing in the recreation room where they're shooting, and Boimler gets stuck in there for a second. He's like, he tries to get out of there real quick because he doesn't want to hear them. I was like, oh, okay, this shtick again, but it pays off because at the end of the day, when Mariner leaves, Freeman's like, I had fun today, and Mariner's like, I did too, and it's like an actual genuine, heartfelt little fucking moment that is like a split second. I'm sorry if I'm swearing too much, but I fucking love this episode, dude. Like, I've watched it 3 times, and I'm gonna watch it like 100 more. I don't know. It's like it is truly the first episode of modern Trek. It's like a true 10 out of 10.
The last
like,
two
it's perfect, almost.
The last 2 episodes I've had no problem watching over and over again. Like, the only reason I'm going to stop watching last week's episode is because this episode is just as addictive in terms of, you know what I really like is Easter egg hunts are really great and they're a lot of fun. But when you're doing more like, when you get like payoffs for lore and like things like that, that's where I really, really have fun. And that's what this episode kind of does.
You mean like, lore as in story lore, not lore like the character.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I meant. Like, as in things that were lore up until now. So it's like just what you said at the beginning of the program about them nailing, like, we haven't had this kind of like discourse between Vulcans before, like serving on a ship and doing ship things like in this way, and it lasted a long time and it felt really like new and fresh. And the same thing with the Klingons, like, you know, you don't get to spend a lot of time like hearing their and they were so distinct. The Vulcans were so Vulcan and the Klingons were so Klingon. It was, you know, it was really cool. And then you had this just like fun time on the Cerritos with Boimler. And I have to say, Boimler's really been the star of this whole season. Like, I feel like Boimler has really been the best thing about this season from the Lower Decks crew. I love all of his storylines. I love all his like things that he's gotten involved with, and like just his like really shining through. He's like really persevering this season. So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Go
ahead.
I really liked that that callback to Star Trek V when Boimler
go climb a rock.
When Boimler spied on Tendi and Dr. Tiana climbing the mountain, and the fact that the boots actually malfunctioned, he went plummeting down to earth, and he ended up on a goddamn tree branch. That actually reminded me of a tweet that the actor who plays Boimler shared out this morning, because apparently a lot of people who watch Lower Decks don't believe that that's actually his actual voice when he screams and things. So he actually made a video of him actually screaming to prove that, you know, every Boimler scream is actually him doing it. It's not like a computer generated thing. I don't know if anybody saw it.
I wanna look it up now. Jack Quaid.
Yeah. He goes, "Good morning." And then just
he does it. Yeah, I saw that tweet. That was really fun.
Speaking of like lore and stuff, there's subtle things that I picked up on in the repeat viewings that I didn't quite catch. Like the fact that Shaxx, his reaction to the mention of Bajor. Obviously a place he suffered great trauma during the occupation. So you then remember, oh yeah, he's like around Kira's age. Like he would have been, you know, going through all that crap, right? On top 100%. Of Klingon captain complains about Klingons joining Starfleet, and he talks about and they're studying at Bajoran academies.
Yeah.
I was like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a nice little touch as well.
And Captain Dorg, he's not only slimy and despicable, he's also kind of funny. Like when he's freaking out at the pack lid, like, we wanted to test the bomb, but then it wasn't there anymore. It's like, it's a bomb. Like he's like, oh, you're so stupid. He's freaking out. And the packlets.
He was so interesting.
The packlets are so good in this show, man, aren't they?
Yeah, no, the packlids are the best. Everything about this show, it's just like every week they just like really make me laugh, and I love laughing at Star Trek by Star Trek. Like it's like something that's, for years we've been laughing at Star Trek. Now we're laughing with Star Trek, so it's a different vibe, if you will. No, I don't mean laughing at Star Trek in a bad way, but like you laughed at it because you saw all these parodies or whatever, and so it was funny. But Star Trek's doing its own beautiful thing, and it transcends like all the genres. Like you can't just say it's one kind of show. Like there's something for everyone in it. And the the Klingon captain,
I gotta look up his name. Hold on one second.
It was Darg or something.
Dorg,
like that.
Captain Dorg.
Or something. Yeah, Dorg. He was reminding me a little bit of Chang, because he quoted the Shakespeare line of "Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war," which is what Chang does. General Chang, not Kang, but so that was really funny.
Chang.
Yeah, Chang. Do we not hear the chimes at midnight, Captain? Yo, Ruben, what's up?
Is this sharing? I'm trying to share. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you're sharing.
Okay, this is just a couple of pictures from the episode. Now this is the beginning where they're on a 12-hour warp break, so they're all like kind of got time off. This is them throwing clay.
Such a good scene.
And this is the Klingon crew, Ma'ak, and so beautiful. Like I could see the beauty of this. I could see an entire series with these Klingons, or following this character, and I can see an entire series following T'Lyn.
I'm not gonna lie, that sounds very appealing too. I hope we get more of this character. What was her name? T'Lyn.
T'Lyn?
Yeah, T'Lyn. She was cool. I loved her. And also Mach. I want to see more Mach. I actually hope we do follow those characters throughout the show, or at least, like you said, maybe maybe they could just do a spin-off series of each of them. Many spin-offs could make it a little crazy, but
where do you think she's being transferred to?
I hope it's the Cerritos, but I have a feeling it might be the Titan. I don't know.
No, but see, if it's not the Cerritos, that would be a huge disappointment, because they're totally setting that up. It's like, why would we follow a character and then never see them again? Same thing with Ma'ak. I bet he will become a recurring character in season 3.
I would love that. Yeah, I agree.
What were you gonna say, Marcelo?
No, I'm like, they wouldn't have spent so much time on her character, basically showing that she's going to transfer to some ship if it wasn't a ship that was significant. If it wasn't a ship that we seen before, whether it's the Titan or whether it's the Cerritos. But I think it's most likely that she's going to end up on the Cerritos.
Yeah, it seems. I would love for that to happen. By the way, look at this.
Beautiful.
Look at the design of that Vulcan ship against the Packlet ship in the background, and the Cerritos. That in itself is just a beautiful image, even if it's like ships all meshed together.
The ships this season just look more spectacular somehow. There's something about the shading, and like they look more 3-dimensional, and like it's not a far stretch to see this translated to live action, or computer. It'd be cool to. I keep saying it'd be cool to see it in live action, but actually it's already cool to see it in animated. So it's live action doesn't need to happen for this, but we don't see enough ship battles like this. Also, if you go back to that scene, do you notice like the ship battles? You linger like when the Vulcan ship appears. It's not just like a quick shot. It like lingers on it, and there's like a heroic fanfare that plays behind it, and it was just like done in such a way that like there was some like it's just a Vulcan ship, but it made it seem more awesome than it already was when that scene came. And I love that kind of thing, and I hope the rest of Star Trek takes its cue from Lower
Yes.
Decks and kind of like slows down a little with those crazy visuals and like takes the time to love the ship. Like it'd be really nice.
It is very difficult to accomplish something like this in terms of pacing, editing, and sound. But it's all done with such grace and perfection. The musical cues in this episode in particular are so fucking good. Like I don't know if they're doing Wrath of Khan. There's notes of familiar Trek throughout, right? But I think I'm hearing Wrath of Khan.
Yeah. No, but
in the background of this episode.
There was
But
like a
anyway.
Vindicta reference. Like it sounded a lot like the Vindicta music, which was kind of like a
Okay.
quote to Wrath of Khan. Sorry, Marcelo.
But that
what were you gonna say?
that kind of
Yeah.
that kind of thing is very familiar.
As I've been watching this season of Lower Decks, and this season of Lower Decks has been really hit and miss for me, but I keep thinking to myself, what would the writers of Lower Decks do with a live action Star Trek show? Like a live action serious Star Trek show. What would these writers do with it? Do you think that these writers would be able to pull off a live action serious Star Trek show?
If I had any doubt before, all of that doubt is gone now after this episode because they just understood. It's like, holy shit, they just understand Trek. Like, there's no arguing. I can't imagine. There's going to be some naysayers like, this is stupid, this sucks, fucking modern Trek. And they're going to be totally blinded to the fact that, hey, dude, ma'am, whatever, they got that Vulcan stuff pretty good. They got it down. They got the Klingon stuff down. If you're familiar with the history of Trek, they just... I mean, they didn't go off in weird directions with either species. They kept them in the,
Yeah, I would say that this is not even like the first time Lower Decks has like quote unquote proven, that they can the writers of the show. I feel like after first season I was like, oh, I'm pretty confident they could deliver a really good live action Star Trek show. And like you said, PJ, definitely by this episode it's like 100%. I feel confident that if they did a live action Star Trek, especially set in this era, it would be like pretty perfect, in my opinion. But I also think it's cool that they are the Lower Decks writers. Like but I do want them to have a live action show. If that's in the cards, I know it's going to be a show that I'll be really hyped for. And again, if it's set in this like TNG post Nemesis era, I would be super chuffed because it might give Picard a run for its money. like is all I gotta say.
What about if you took these writers and you gave them Nicholas Meyer's concept for the con series that he wants to do?
I feel like you give a lot of credit to the writers, and that's fine. They are writing really great material, but like the writing isn't bad in any of the other Trek series. I think what PJ was talking about, it's like certain details like pacing and editing and like, how they treat the ships and like just the general ethos of the production that for some reason, and again, I hate like being like, oh, this feels more like it should be or that feels more like it should be, because I think I like the concept of there's different flavors of Star Trek, so there's different Star Treks for different types of folks. Some people want more like really really adult serious body horror, and you get Discovery for that, and like
No, you can swap to Picard for that.
I was gonna say, yeah.
but you know what I'm saying,
Violet.
like, so I'm not gonna say that
Sorry.
I'm not gonna say that that like these writers would be the ones. It's like an overall production just
So
the overall production ethos of Lower Decks, I think translates very well towards what I thought, what my expectations were for modern Star Trek, which might be a little too tainted by the past. So who knows?
no, but with this episode, I'm very very hopeful for the future of Star Trek Lower Decks moving forward. I really think that in the episodes that we have left, I really think they're going to really sway my opinion on the first half of the season that I didn't really particularly like that much.
Yeah, the first half wasn't. I would sooner skip over the first halves of season 1 and 2. I just get to the good stuff because they do build it up toward the end of the seasons, and it's not like they weren't trying in the earlier parts, but you notice the less they do the reference, Easter egg, whatever, the less of them they're throwing at you, the better the story tends to be. It's kind of like weaker stories, and it's not something I'm criticizing them for. It's just weaker stories tend to be propped up propped up by a lot of random, like the Cry Havoc line in this episode. I didn't find it. I was like, okay, that was like the one part where I was like, he didn't need it. I mean, I get that he's a traditional Klingon, but they wanted to throw in that reference. I mean, they already referenced Part 5, and I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm hearing Wrath of Khan through a lot of that episode.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, it's great. But Fathery said Mike McMahon has described himself as having only a comedy brain.
Oh.
Well, he's not the only one writing it, right?
Shame. No, he's not the only one.
Well, I think he's like lead writer as well as showrunner.
No,
I think it feels like he's really involved in the writing at least, yeah.
Well, showrunner
is the lead writer, I guess.
I don't mean to toot my own horn. I don't mean to. But showrunner is lead writer generally.
Right, but I feel like I could be a showrunner without writing.
The guy who calls the shots on what makes it into the script, basically.
You could be a showrunner? Really?
I could be a showrunner without writing. I'll be the first showrunner that doesn't write it.
Well,
I'll prove you wrong, and I'll cast myself as the captain in my Star
Oh
Trek
my
as well,
God,
just you watch.
Fathery meant to leave a full comment there. Do you want to read it for me, Starfleet boy?
Mike McMahon has described himself as having only a comedy brain. I don't know if he would want to write a non-comedy show. I think why the drama bits of LDS work so well is because they are rare. Yes, I agree with that comment.
what was that last part? They are what?
They're rare.
Oh, they're rare. Okay.
Like, the drama works so well, and it happened in the first season too, when it gets like really deadly serious, if you will. It works so well because the show is primarily a comedy, and so you're used to seeing gag after gag and lightheartedness. And so in this episode, like the Klingon scenes were pretty bloody. Like he like really, you see the blood dripping, and there's this one shot that I really loved after the young what was his name again? Mock. After Mock after he defeats the captain, you see he like gets up from it, and he's standing kind of profile with the battle raging behind him, really blurry, and he looks really good. And they're like, "Captain, what's your order?" And it takes him a moment, and I was just like, that's like a perfect shot. And it felt so like, even though it's, again, this is where I tweet about this, but like this is where Lower Decks just up until now, I may have still had some of these like ideas that like there's live action Star Trek and then there's animated Star Trek, and there's maybe a thin, line where one is more valid than the other. But
there is no line anymore.
Yeah, the line was drawn and now it's been crossed. So there is no line anymore. To me, as far as I'm concerned, like I get how I can incorporate this into the rest of Star Trek, and I love it, and I love this show, and I really cherish all the new information and just it's exciting. It's it's Star Trek. It's
And there's not much clamoring for laughs. I mean, they're not like trying to get laughs out of you every 2 seconds. I mean, they're literally having serious moments throughout,
Yeah.
but they're interlaced with like little lines like "Walk my targ, he ate a leg," and he comes back later. He's like, "It was a good movement," and then they have a serious conversation. But then there's
It
little
was an honorable
funny
movement.
lines thrown in there. Like when you discover that the Dorg, Captain Dorg or whatever, he's working with the Packlids. It's like, oh shit, this is like super serious. And then the very next second, he's like, oh, you blew up the bomb. How do you know? He's complaining about the and I like. There's a line with the Packlids lower decks
It's called
where he's like, I'm hungry. You should eat. You are smart. It's like just so simple. It's like
such good. They're so good for laughs. The
red alarm.
red alarm. The captain. What kind of bomb was it that they have? It's called a Viridian bomb. I think in the episode where they went to Pakled planet, that's the plan that they revealed, is that they were going to detonate a Viridian bomb on Earth. They blew the first one up, testing it out on an asteroid, but there is another Viridian bomb that was beamed over to the Pakled ship before the battle started.
Yep.
So they actually are in possession of this Viridian bomb. So like if Freeman doesn't remember that or didn't report it, which I'm hoping she did, I'm sure she did. Hopefully I'm kind of worried. I hope they don't do something too serious next episode, like an attack on Earth that's successful. I hope it doesn't
I have
happen.
no idea what the next one's about. I haven't seen a trailer or image, but I hope they bring back the characters from this episode. Because if the plot is that they have the Viridian bomb and they're going to do something, why not have the Klingons, that Klingon ship and the Vulcan ship help? I like how at the end Freeman's trying to make small talk, like, yeah, that was a pretty big... And there's like, we don't have to communicate anymore. See ya. Bye.
The Vulcans were great.
The Vulcan captain is so awesome because the whole time he's like, he's accepting her rebellion, but at the same time telling her, I'm not gonna put up with this. And I love Vulcan discourse and how it's handled in the episode because it's all very calm and the way it should be.
Yeah.
And you can
they're
literally
awful to each other. They're so mean.
you can translate some of that into real talk, and it would be like Jerry Springer, because when she's like when they're doing the meditation and she's working on a thing, she's like, I'm almost done.
That's the Jerry Springer scene.
The woman's like, what if the High Council knows of your behavior? She's like, what, are you going to rat me out? She's like, yeah, if I got to. That's basically what's happening, right? Because it's so good. What's happening. By the way, speaking of the comedy brain thing and regards to some of the best comedians are some of the best actors. There's something about people who are good with comedy writing and timing and even performance that makes them just generally good writers. It's like an extra skill. It's like if you're a serious writer who struggles with writing like humorous things or integrating humor into things or having any kind of levity, people are not really going to enjoy your product.
I could totally write the Vulcan show. I have a tough time writing humor. I find humor funny, but I would write the Vulcan show. Like,
you find humor funny?
Yeah, I find humor funny.
As a writer myself, like the hardest thing that I deal with every time I write is humor, because I'm a very serious writer. That's where I come from. But with that being said, if there's one type of humor that I'm really good with writing, I like writing dark humor all the time. So humor that isn't initially supposed to be funny.
I see that.
Like Dave Chappelle. No, I'm joking.
Oh.
It's not supposed to be funny, but it's it's pretty dark humor, I must say. Yeah, we were talking about that before we went live.
Yeah.
Whoa. Anyway,
that's another story for another time.
We might talk about it on Boatrek After Dark.
Yes, Boatrek After Dark tomorrow night. We're going to talk about things. I do want to bring up that documentary 15 Minutes of Fame is all about like cancel culture or consequence culture and public shaming and stuff like that. It's very interesting. It examines a few subjects. Like for one, the guy who sold the hand sanitizer at a mock-up, and
Oh,
he was
price
like, he was,
gouging.
yeah, he was dragged through the mud and like, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, back to Lower Decks. Um, I don't do ratings and stuff, but let's do ratings. Let's start with Marcelo. What would you give it out of 10?
I would give it an 8. Like I've only seen it once, so I can guarantee you the more times I see it, the higher my score's gonna go. But for right now, just on face value for me, I really enjoyed it, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10.
This is truly one of the best episodes of Star Trek, period. Like, it's an episode I'll definitely go back and watch over and over again and think of recommending to people when they're like, oh, what are your favorite episodes of Star Trek? This will definitely be in there, along with last week's episode. But this one more, I think. This one's replacing it already. And so I'll give it the same rating that I gave it on Starfleet Boy, which is an 11.
You can't do that. No, okay.
It's
Sure.
against the rules.
You know, it's
You're
because
fired, Starfleet boy.
I give everything 10s.
I reserve my 10s.
Yeah, it's true.
I
gotta
haven't,
learn to do that
I
better.
haven't given a 10 to barely anything.
Yeah, it's true.
But
But
this
you gave
is
this one a 10 out
this
of 10.
is a 10 for the very reason that it's not only you got to think about this. It's an animated sitcom, and look at the just quality of the storytelling, the music. You don't hear music like that in any sitcom period, let alone animated. I mean, I suppose there are a lot of shows that use orchestra, but like this is cinematic, dynamic kind of like production value for a streaming animated series, and in that way, it deserves like the praise, and the fact that you have a story that involves that even manages to fit the Pakleds and a little joke about the Borg at the end, but still has a whole thing with a Vulcan character, a Klingon character, and the Cerritos or Boimler, with all of like the little parts that the people on that ship have. There's like I can't even. My mind's gonna explode thinking about how much they pack into this friggin' episode.
How much they pack lead into the episode.
Pack lead, oh, so good.
You
Ba-da-bum-ba-dum-bum.
And now snare drum.
But it's one of these things I'm watching and I'm concerned for myself because I'm like giddy and I'm excited. I'm moving. Like if somebody was watching me watch this, they'd be like, "There's something wrong with you. You need to go to a hospital."
No.
Because I'm literally like,
I had that I had that in
I'm like,
my. I had that moment today. I hollered when the Vulcan. I knew it was gonna happen, but I hollered. I was like, "Yeah!" Like it was like I was like. So
when
happy.
it goes
like,
right between the Packlet
it's
chip and
like-
the Cerritos, it's like,
yeah, so
yep.
perfect. It was
That's
so
what-
good.
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
I mean the visuals of the battle. If I wanted to like nitpick, it's more internal. Like you're getting more of the shields are down, and then the whole thing with use my shield modulator thing, and the captain does it, and then there's the nod and and then there's the music behind that. It's very, very almost emotional and satisfying in that way. That climax is the best of the series because this is hands down the best episode of Lower Decks. I can't imagine the next one topping it. I don't think
that's what I thought.
I don't think the finale is going to top it.
That's what I've been thinking every episode this season, and they
Be
keep
careful,
doing it. So
be careful because
yeah.
because sometimes
But we'll
in
be
the
back
future you might
next
have
week
eat
to-
your words.
we'll be back next week to find out.
I hope if it turns out to be better, and I'm like Starfleet boy, I got to give it an 11
You're gonna make
because I already gave the last one a 10.
At 10, you're gonna have to do it. Father says, "I'm 4 or 5 episodes into Ted Lasso. It's a good show, but doesn't make me anywhere near as happy as Lower Decks does regularly. Not even close. Although I'm caught up on Ted Lasso, and holy crapola, tomorrow is the season finale." And I have a lot to say about Ted Lasso. I'm going to definitely have watched it by the time we gather.
Not to get too much into Ted Lasso, but the second season
Yeah, don't
first
spoil it for
the first
Father.
parts of that season are so good. It's almost like these last 3 episodes have a hard time living up to how
It's
good the earlier episodes were. So I don't know.
But it's good in a different way. It gets really, really real, and the episode that's
It's
focused on Coach Beard is interesting. It's very
la la la
weird. Yeah.
spoilers.
Oh,
No,
sorry. That's all. I'll
no,
say.
no.
Yeah,
For people who haven't seen it, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
people like Coach Beard.
The hell are
He
these
actually
guys
has a
talking
beard.
about? I came here for Star Trek. What are these people talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
We're here for-
teasers
we're
for
for Lower Decks.
tomorrow's discussion.
By the way,
I did predict the Klingons would be behind the Packlets.
I think you were the one.
But
most
then
saying
you
that.
you convinced me that it would be lore. So I was
Lore.
like, oh,
It could
maybe
still-
it's lore then.
It could still be lore.
Oh shit!
It could still be lore.
Brent
That-
Spiner back as lore, animated
isn't that
lore.
guy dead? Isn't Lord dead?
No, we don't. He's not accounted for. He was deactivated.
There's a
Okay.
gap in time between TNG times and Picard where it's not clear exactly.
The fate
They
of
don't
Lore
mention
is
him.
unknown.
They
The fate of-
literally
yeah.
just don't even mention him.
The last we
So
see
he
of
could-
Laura is Data deactivates him, and then it's assumed that he's dismantled and probably taken somewhere to be studied. But that's the only thing.
So
that we
he
can...
could pop up again. Theoretically.
Oh no!
Spoiler alert, Fathery. There's a scene where Coach Beard and Ted Lasso get into an argument, and a fist pops out of the beard and punches Ted Lasso, much like what happens with Chuck Norris. He reminds me of
That's
Chuck
funny.
Norris for some reason. I don't know why. Coach
There is a
Beard.
Chuck
I don't
Norris
know why.
vibe. It's
He
weird.
looks like Chuck Norris's little older brother or something, or little brother. I don't know. But anyway, also Shatner's going to space soon.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah, 12th, right? The 12th?
I'm so torn about this because it is
Why are
really
you so torn about it? You should be happy for him.
I'm super happy for William Shatner. I think it's super special, and I think it's like very apropos. Like it's a neat thing. It's like I really admire William Shatner for a lot of his good deeds. I don't really appreciate some of his bad deeds, but I feel like overall he's more he does more good than bad. But anyways, I'm really excited about him going to space. The only thing is I've been like criticizing the new space program as being like mostly a billionaire's joyride club, and actually there's a Saturday Night Live skit this week that is really funny about that. And so I've been kind of like, oh, this isn't really serious space program stuff. It's just like Jeff Bezos like spending money to go on joyrides to outer space and all these.
It
other
should have
rides.
been me going to space, but I'm stuck here in Canada shooting a sitcom. I
About
play an
Newfies.
old Newfoundlander
Oh,
man,
Newfoundlander, sorry.
but I
Newfoundland.
sound British anyway. I don't even attempt to do the accent. Sorry, sorry. Go ahead, Marcelo. What were you gonna say?
No. I just want to ask you this question, Starfleet boy. So you're telling me if you had all the money in the world, you wouldn't do private space flights? Or
I would do it, but without it being it'd be from my secret launch pad in Siberia that no one knows about, so that like it's
Okay.
not all over the news or anything. Like I
Okay.
don't blame Jeff Bezos for wanting to go to space. I just think it just like it feels silly that it's all about like who's cool enough to ride on the rocket to space or whatever.
Shatner is launching from Texas, I think.
This
He
we're
will
totally
be the
pre-ga-
oldest human to go to
We-
space.
We're totally
Think he will survive?
We're totally.
That's horrible, Father. What's wrong with you?
We're totally pre-gaming now. We're totally pre-gaming now for Boatrek After Dark. This is funny. I
the
think
way-
he will survive. It's like it's kind of cheating. It's going to space, but it's like the bare minimum of going to space.
Yeah, it's like what is it? The stratosphere, as they call it. You're not going up. You're going like low orbit or something.
lower-
Yeah, low orbit. Yeah.
It's like
Just enough
it's
to
like-
float around.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
like sticking a pinky into space and then coming back down.
It's just the tip.
I didn't say that. I didn't say.
It's just the tip of space. That's all it is.
It's just a tip. By the
I
way,
think he will be just fine, Father.
He will. I think so too. I agree.
Let's not.
by-
Let's not.
Yeah,
Let's
by
not think
way,
about the worst.
Starfleet boy, are you retiring from Friday Night Fair?
No, no.
Good, okay, good. I just wanted to see
I'm
what
on
you would
holiday.
say. I know, but I just want to see what you would say.
Yeah, no, I'm on holiday.
I know,
but,
I know.
I will
it's-
control it now.
Yeah, PJ, it's in good, and you know what? It's in good hands with PJ, so I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'll be there. I'll be there.
Well,
tomorrow.
it'll be more intellectual, organized.
More controlled.
It will be. We'll see. Yeah, it's true. Not until I come on, and then it's like,
Yeah, it'll be calmer.
I'm really curious. He says Bezos has enough money to end homelessness, but he won't because he'd rather play in space. I don't know why that's funny, but I didn't mean to laugh at the homeless. But it just
No, but
that's a good point.
No, but I'm very I'm very seriously intrigued about how PJ is going to run the show tomorrow. I think.
just show up. We'll see.
Well, yeah. Of course, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. If he'll
Well,
have me, of course, I'll be.
it'll just be me and Marcelo because nobody else is going to show up. Going PJ, Boatrek, not going over there.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, you know what? I'll make it truly like your show. I'll wait for the guests, and then I'll just go away. I'm joking.
I've taught
I'm
you
joking.
well. You'll have a great time. Trust me.
Actually, I wrote a couple of notes
Nope.
about what could, or did I falsely remember? Okay, yeah, okay. Bond 25, but nobody's seen it, so that's out of the question. Shatner in space, we've talked about that now.
We're gonna talk about it again.
The what if finale, which I haven't seen,
I've seen it, and it's pretty wow.
and just
Oh,
generally
that's
about
wild.
horror movies and October's biggest films.
We could actually,
That's what it was last week. We talked.
No.
We skimmed over all of them,
No.
like all the greats.
Now we
but-
can go. Tomorrow we can go one by one because he's not controlling the show. You are.
Well, I was thinking maybe a good idea is to talk about the 1978 and then 2018 Halloween movies,
Hey, not
because
bad.
that's a new
good idea.
continuity now that's going to continue in Halloween Kills. It's even the same guy who wore the William Shatner mask
Yeah.
in the original movie playing the part again. Like he's
Oh,
a
yeah.
60, 70-year-old man
Yeah,
playing Mike
Yeah.
Myers.
that's right. I forgot that the
That's
original
cool.
Halloween mask is actually William Shatner's face. Do you guys think that he got any royalties from that?
No, he got nothing.
Oh.
No, they altered it enough so that they couldn't be sued.
It's 25% different.
Oh, really? Okay.
Father is gonna see Bond tomorrow. That's exciting.
I know what happens in the movie.
Is it on
So the-
digital or only in movies?
No, not yet.
No,
Not
no,
digital,
I am.
movies.
No,
If
it's
it was on digital, I would have seen it already, and I would be
Oh,
screaming
gotcha.
about it at this point.
you. Yeah, you only can see it in theaters. I mean, I suppose you can watch some shitty cam version, but who wants to do that
Who
in
wants
this
to
day
do
and age?
that?
But I know about the movie. I went down the rabbit hole of just like, fuck, it's already out in these other. Even the non-spoiler reviews, I would avoid. Because there's a common language used throughout these non-spoiler reviews that hint at something. That's like, okay. Put some emphasis on that part. I don't know why. Oh, this other reviewer did it too. And I was like, let me look up. Does this happen? And I'm like, oh, I thought that would happen. I didn't think they had, like, it's a good movie. I've heard like just, and some of the stuff that I thought it would be about, like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a Lashana Lynch who's 007 in the movie, right? Spoiler, 007's not 007 anymore, or whatever.
Of course.
It's Lashana Lynch. They showed that in the trailer 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about that was, oh, they're replacing Bond now, and they're trying to make a female Bond. I was like,
No.
that's
ridiculous.
the 00 status is not a gender issue.
Yeah, it's not.
He went away, and somebody took his fucking place.
He retired.
And the whole issue in the movie is that he's come back now, and Lashana Lynch's character is like, fucking old man. You fucking you're trying to disrupt my job,
Yeah.
It's like
I'll
just
shoot
like if
you.
Bond, like if some 00 that retired came back and started schooling Bond. You know what I mean? Bond would be like, "Oh, okay." It's not even an issue, but people make a big deal out of it, like, "Oh, they're destroying Bond by having him argue with a woman." Oh my God, run for the fucking hills! It's like, what? I'm sorry, but I believe that regardless of gender and whatever else, characters can have conflict.
Yes.
Just because it's a man and a woman doesn't make it like a thing.
No,
But anyway.
and if you think about it, 007 is a company number. It's not a number specifically designed for one agent. It's a company number.
This is the preview part of After Dark right now, non-Trek stuff, which is okay.
But you're waiting for that magic 47. I know you.
Yes, I am actually waiting for. We will end it at 47 minutes. I think 47 minutes is a great stream time to talk about any given thing. Maybe a movie you could go longer, but. I don't know.
And hopefully the After Dark program won't be 47 minutes. It'll be longer because it might be that long to let you.
So let's do.
Oh, I see.
I can do the outro. The outro's a few seconds.
Oh yeah, let's see the out.
Okay.
Oh wait, were we really like? We
You
are
need
gonna
an
wait till
intro
47.
and
We're gonna end.
Like,
We're gonna end it
wow.
at 47.
Alright, here we go.
Let's do this.
Tune in to Starfleet Boy normally on Thursdays for more Lower Decks discussions. Actually, it's more like a reaction. It's like a raw reaction. So next week it's another reaction episode to the final episode of Lower Decks, and then we get a week off. I'll go watch Dune, and then it's Star Trek Prodigy.
Any parting words, Marcelo?
I'm sorry?
Any
Quick.
parting words?
I have none, except I had a good time.
Aw.
Well, that's great. I had a great time too. I want to thank you both for being here. And until next time, folks,
Thank you.
live long and prosper.
Bye-bye.